All right, I'm here on page 297 of the student activity book. If you are not open to this page, go ahead and pause the video, open up to this page, and then press play. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and do these together. We're practicing those comparing fraction rules. Now I have those over here to make sure that I have them handy for myself. I also posted a picture on the Google Slides for you, so make sure that you use these rules to help you. Okay, so we're gonna practice those rules over here. It says circle the greater fraction, and you can use fraction strips if you need to, but honestly, I want you to actually use the fraction rules to help you, because you're not always going to have fraction strips. A lot of times, I mean, in real life, think about how often do you have a fraction strip? Almost never, right? So it's important to learn some rules to help you so that you can remember, so you don't need those fraction strips. Okay, so for number one, I'm gonna do a few of these with you. I'm gonna do 1 and 2, and then I'm gonna have you do the rest. So for number one, we have 1/12 or 1/2. It looks like the numerators are the same. So if the numerators are the same, that looks like it's rule 2. When the numerators are the same, the fraction with the smaller denominator is larger. So if the numerators are the same, the fraction with the smaller denominator is larger. So I'm going to circle 1/2. That is the bigger fraction. And if you think about it, 1/12 is going to be a really small piece, whereas 1/2 is going to be a pretty big piece. Okay, for number two, we're going to do this same thing. So we have 3/8 or 1/8. It looks like our denominators this time are the same. So I'm going to refer back to my first rule. Okay, when the denominators are the same, the fraction with the larger numerator is bigger. Okay, so I have the larger numerator is going to be bigger, so it's going to be 3/8. I can also just recognize that, oh, right here I have 1/8 piece, and over here I have 3/8, so that's more. Okay, so you're gonna, for 3 through 8, you're just going to circle the greater fraction. For numbers 9 through 14, you're going to write the symbols to make each statement true. So I'll go ahead and do 9 and 10 with you. So 3/10 plus 3/8. That looks like it is rule number, so it looks like the numerators are the same. And if the numerators are the same, that means we're going to rule number 2. When the numerators are the same, the fraction with the smaller denominator is larger. So we're going to look for the smaller denominator. So that's going to be 3/8. So we would write 3/8 is bigger than 3/10 because 1/8 pieces are bigger than 1/10 pieces. Okay, for number 10, it looks like, oh, again, our numerators are the same, 3/6 versus 3/5. So rule number 2, when the numerators are the same, the fraction with the smaller denominator is larger. So 3/6 versus 3/5, the smaller denominator is going to be larger. So 3/5 is larger, and you can think of it because as in fifths are going to be bigger pieces than sixths, because sixths you have to cut the whole into more pieces, so the pieces are going to be smaller. Okay, so you're going to finish those ones right there. Okay, I'd also like you to figure out this puzzle penguin question. Those are always really, really good. This question over here on the next page says, make sense of problems. Explain how to compare fractions with the same denominator but different numerators. We can just write, see, it says same denominators. That sounds like rule number 1. So I want you to just write it yourself, and I want you to write it with me, okay? Number 16, I want you to write, when the denominators are the same, the fraction with a larger numerator is bigger. That's rule number 1. And that's how you can explain how to compare fractions with the same denominator but different numerators. Okay? Now explain how to compare fractions with the same numerator but different denominator. That sounds a lot like our rule number 2. When numerators are the same, the smaller denominator is larger. So I'm going to write that. When the numerators are the same, comma, the fraction with a smaller, now this is kind of weird because it's like opposite, the smaller denominator is larger. Did that in all caps. When the numerators are the same, the fraction with the smaller denominator is larger. So right here, we're just stating our rules. Simple. Okay, now solve. These are basically the same as the ones over here where you are comparing fractions. The only difference is that these are word problems. So I'm going to do number 18 with you. Okay. Bale, interesting name, Bale listed the birds that he visited his bird feeder Friday. He said that 2/5 were finches and 2/6 were wrens. Now over here, I'm making notes. I'm making sense of my word problem. That's going to help me a lot. Did more finches or more wrens visit the bird feeder? So it looks like our two fractions have a same numerator. So that means that we're doing rule number 2. When the numerators are the same, the fraction with the smaller denominator is larger. So we would say more, which fraction is larger? Finches. Visited. And if I read my problem, it says to explain. So I'm going to explain. More finches visited because fifths are, and you can write this any way you'd like, but I'm going to write because fifths are bigger than sixths. When we're comparing our denominators, fifths, a fifth piece is bigger than a sixth piece. Okay? And that's a valid explanation. You can always write it in a different way. Okay? All right. Number 19 is very similar. Who had more of the cards? I want you to do that one on your own, and I want you to explain how you know. Now number 20 is a little different, so I'm going to do this one with you. Write the fractions 10/12, 5/12, and 7/12 in order from least to greatest. Okay, so we're going to write the smallest fraction first. So as I'm looking at these fractions, I notice that all of them have the denominator of 12. So if that's the case, all I need to do, I'm going to write all of these denominators. All I need to do now is look at the numerators, and I'm going to write whatever numerators, I'm going to write them in order from least to greatest. So my smallest numerator is going to be my smallest fraction. And then it goes from 5 to 7, and then 10. So, oh, that's a little sloppy. 5/12 is the smallest, and then 7/12, and then 10/12. I just wrote my fractions in order from least to greatest. Okay, and that is all that you need to do today as far as the workbook. Make sure that you finish the problems that I didn't do with you. I want you to go back and I want you to practice these. It's really good practice. Then once you are done with those, boys and girls, you are going to go on Mastery Connect, student.masteryconnect.com. Go ahead and look on the Google Slides and it'll tell you the class code that you can get on. And I want to see, after you've done this, I want to see how you're doing. If you're having a hard time, I might call you tomorrow. Like if you get a bad score on your Mastery Connect, I might call you tomorrow and just so that I can help you with this, because the goal is for you to watch these videos and then do the work, do the practice, and then show me how you can do it going on Mastery Connect. All right, good luck, and I'll see you all later.